Morning, Fiona. How are you? And morning,
Hi,
students, afternoon, students, even.
hi Anya. Thanks for joining us today. But this is our Library Cafe number 6, would you believe?
That's amazing, Fiona. God, fair play
Unreal.
to everyone.
I know. So today, as you know, Fiona, myself, you may have met me before, students, but we're joined today by Anya Carey, who's one of our librarians in the teaching team. And today we're going to talk about essay writing. Essay writing. Now, this
Oh,
this we've had quite a few questions come in on Instagram. So this is a hard thing. Essay writing is hard.
it is. It is. And people are stressed about it, Fiona, and that's understandable. And I'm delighted to be here. This is my first go with this. So I've seen some great other library cafes. And probably just to start before saying anything else is to say that you might be wondering about getting started, and to remind you that the last 2 weeks we covered successful searching, so how to find the information, because you need that before you write anything. And last week there was a great one with really interesting backgrounds. There was a great one done by Saoirse and Kieran about referencing. So
Mm.
definitely make a bit of time to go back and look at those, because that'll get you started on the practical stuff. Fiona, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay now, and
Great.
show a presentation that I have, just to, I suppose, bring on board a few key points. So let's hope it does what it's meant to do now.
We always
There
we
we
always
go.
say our prayers. Yes, and it
True.
worked.
Yay, we can see a presentation. So just talking about, and I just have a reminder there that this is one of the list series of sessions that we normally do in person, and we hope to be doing again. But we're putting this under the list umbrella this time. So Fiona, you were just saying there that you've had a lot of queries coming in on our, when we put the question on Instagram, and people said it's hard. Why is it so hard? And you can see here, this is a word cloud of what I asked some students about when I met them yesterday, and how they were feeling and how they were finding their assignments. And some people are getting on great, which is great, but a lot of people, they say things are stressful, they're challenging, and people are feeling overwhelmed. So what we want to say here is that the next few minutes, we want to just give you some key tips about trying to get those essays done as effectively as you can. And first of all, to remind you that the library is here to help you. The previous Library Cafe sessions, one of the Fiona was involved and showed you how you can get in touch with help. So the best place to come to us for information, for academic and scholarly information, is actually the library. And if you're having any difficulty finding information, that's exactly what we're here for, to help you with that. And we'll talk to you about that. So just to remind you that before you get started at all, it sounds obvious, but you need to know a clear idea of what you're investigating or writing about. So we call that a research question. You can call it your essay title, you can call it a topic. Just know what it is you're writing about, and make sure you read it thoroughly and you think about what are all the key concepts. So somebody asked me yesterday, what do I mean by key concepts? I just mean all the main words that are in the essay title, because if you only address half of them in your essay, it won't work out so well. And once you got your key concepts, think about those key words. What are the words that can use to describe those concepts? And then you can head off and do some searching. So that was covered, as I said, very well 2 weeks ago. So pop back and have a look at Saoirse and Fiona covering that. And Fiona, I know you had, I'm moving on to my next slide now,
Yeah.
but I know there was a couple of questions just on this topic, wasn't there?
Yeah, this would be one where I would really relate to this. So what happens when you're actually, you're stuck in a rush? You don't know where to start. You really like having difficulty. So what's the tips that you can kind of give us for those?
Yeah, no, it's a great question and very understandable. And also, students, everybody feels like that. Whether you're first year or third year or fourth year, whether you're at postgraduate level, it's a really common thing. We all find it hard to get started on the writing process. So, one and two, I mentioned already. And then when you come to search for information, as you're searching, keep asking yourself, does this answer my question? Because you will find lots of great, useful information that you might love to read. But if it doesn't answer your question, if it doesn't help you say more about your essay topic, just put it to one side. And don't be afraid to do that, because you're not expected to read everything. As a rule of thumb, 1,500 to 2,000 word essay, you probably want to cover 10 to 12 relevant topical sources. That's not entire books, but maybe part of a book or a chapter or a journal article. So it's not lots of information, it's just useful information. When you find information, then, if you can just think about each concept, each part of your essay, and say, where would this slot in? Draw it out. pen and paper or put into a Word document and keep adding your information in. Remember to go back and take a look at some of the great suggestions from Kieran and Saoirse about managing information using some of the tools that we have available. And if you can, as you're reading, take some notes and write a little bit about each concept as you go. You'll get loads more information on that process of note taking and getting going on your essay writing in our academic writing guide, which is in our guides and tutorials section of the website. So sorry,
Excellent.
Fiona, you had something to say. I'm jumping. I'm forgetting there's more than me here.
No, please go on. Please go on. Yes, so this is, it's just, these are great tips. And you've mentioned there the academic writing, guides, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about that at the end as well, the guides that we need to look at.
That's one. And you're right, Fiona, because we've loads of guides, but we know sometimes we're telling you all about the guides and you're thinking, oh, I do not have time to be reading more stuff. Just to let you know that the guides are really, really simply laid out and you can pop in and have a quick look about, okay, I need to take some notes. How do I do that? Not lots of extra reading for you because you have enough to do. Another thing, Fiona, we were chatting beforehand and Fiona shared with me some other questions that we had. So 2 really good questions. So how do I actually get going? You're looking at that blank page and you're thinking, right, I need to get some words down. And also, I've got a longer essay than I'm used to, say 3,000 words. And how do I, make it sound good? And how do I really add some value to what I'm writing? And the third question I remember Fiona saying to me was, okay, how do I start to work now? I've got a few essays in front of me because unfortunately you never just get one, do you, Fiona?
No.
And how do I do it so I'm not totally panicking on my deadline, which for most of you will be a couple of weeks into December? So here's a few key tips. And remember, loads more on our website. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Your lecturer, the person looking at your work, wants to know what you think. So think about your own ideas and your own points you want to put forward in your own voice. Then once you've got those in your head, back them up. So when you read, you want to find evidence that supports your ideas or maybe challenge your ideas, but that it backs up what you're going to put down on paper. When you are writing, my last tip there was start to write sections of your essay. And before you do that, check the word count for your essay. So if it's 1,500 words or 2,000 or 3,000, break that down. So every essay should have an introduction, some sections, maybe 1 to 5 sections that cover the key concepts. You might have more or less. And then you want to make some analysis of what you've written about. And really importantly, have a conclusion. So check your word count and roughly allocate it. This will probably mean for most essays, you want to say have 250 words of an introduction. That's less than half a page. So that's not too hard to do. Start by writing your introduction, move on to your next point. When you've written something, go back and read what you've written. So check it. First of all, just in simple terms, does it sound okay? Have you used full stops and capital letters and does it make sense to you? Did you use your voice? Did you find some evidence? So have you cited and referenced what you've written there with some evidence that you've found? And does it look okay? So it's not too long or it's not too short, and then move on. You can always come back and do a final revision. And the one thing I would always say, having talked to students so often over the years, don't forget to have a conclusion. So sometimes we get to the end and we think, I've answered that question, I'm done. Your conclusion is where you bring together your main points, the work that you did, and you draw it all together, and it's really, really important. So Fiona, that's the end of the few points that I put together, and I don't know how we're doing for time. I'm going to come back out of this and Fiona can tell me if I've rabbited on way too long.
No, that was great, Anya, and actually I really like the way that they're in kind of little tips, that you can work your way through as a student, because if you haven't actually written an essay before, if you haven't done one in a long time, that's brilliant. It's really clear. So just one of the things you did mention there was about the other guides that we might have a look at, or that that students might have a look at. So we've mentioned the academic writing guide, you mentioned the successful searching, and also that a lot of the stuff is covered in our previous library cafes.
Great. So I thought I'd stop sharing. Of course, I still was sharing, but here we are again. Sorry, students. It's going to be a bit glitchy in the middle, but look, I'm just now sharing the library homepage. And Fiona, thanks for reminding me about that. And I know we're down to the last couple of seconds. We don't want to overwhelm you with listening to us
No.
as brilliant as we are and all that. Look, we've shown you this website every time we've done a Library Café and in all of our classes, and we hope that you're familiar with it. If you can see here in the middle of the page, you have our guides and tutorials section. If I just click on it super quickly, you'll see the different sections. Everything we're talking about there, all the ones that Fiona mentioned there, are in this section called Learning Resources. Academic writing, successful searching. So they're the bits that will teach you how to find the information, then how to write up the information. And the final one is our referencing guide, which you were shown last week as well, and that's under research support. And what I'd say again, just as a final reminder, is please get in touch with us if you're having problems. So there's loads of ways. Pop a question into Library Chat saying that you'd like some help with your essay and somebody can get in touch with you. Go to your subject guide, again under guides and tutorial, and you'll probably see my face looking out at you. You'll be able to send us an email, or you'll be able to complete your query form from that page and get in touch with us. So we just want to hear you. And of course, we're looking at our social media accounts and Instagram where we got your great questions for today. So that's another way of posing a question to us and coming back to us.
Fantastic. And that's
Fiona,
it.
thanks a million. That's it. Stop talking,
great.
Fiona says. Go away. You're done.
That's it.
Listen, I hope that whoever listens to you gets some benefit, and huge thanks to Fiona for steering me through this, because I haven't done it before, and it's really nice to get an opportunity to do it. And I really wish I could perfect sharing my screen properly. So bye to everybody, and thanks a million. And thank you, Fiona.
Thanks a million, Áine. See you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.